Hey guys, Jeremy here from School Wok Covent Garden. It's Wok Wednesday once again, and this time we're using a wok and a pan for a chicken katsu curry. So first things first, we're going to slowly cook off your onions. Just on a medium heat. Make sure there's enough oil in the bottom of the pan. Get your finely chopped onions in. And there's a million ways to cook a curry. My in-laws are actually Indian, so I cook it more the Indian way, but with Japanese flavors. And of course, the Japanese would have taken the spices from the huge amount of trade that has come from generations after generation. So essentially, a katsu curry is a bit of fusion, really, in my view. Perhaps the Japanese would say differently. Sort of lightly brown your onions, maybe soften them up, so it's a slow to medium cook of those onions. So we're going to cut your chicken breast nice and thin. I'm going for 2 good pieces of breast. And if you want to open that up slightly more, just at a slight angle, cut into it like so, and then flatten that into one big escalope of chicken. I'm going to marinate that very gently with some garam masala. It's about a teaspoon of garam masala. And then we can start to breadcrumb your chicken. So my onions are softened, lightly brown. Get some garlic here. Give that a quick stir. Still on a medium heat. Then we're going to start to bring our spices in. So I've got bay leaf, some mild curry powder. I like to cook my spices through the Indian style tempering your spices. Garam masala. You don't want to burn them, just give them that light toasting. Paprika. And the paprika and turmeric here will really create the colour of the curry sauce. And then we're going to make a light roux out of this. French cooking term. So I've got a bit more oil here. So you can see, very international, this katsu curry. So the French usually use butter and flour. We've got some oil, plain flour and corn flour. And that brings all those spices together and they get stuck to the little bits of onion. Again, we're just lightly cooking that flour. And we're going to slowly add some chicken stock. Bit by bit. It's on a low heat now. You can see the stickiness of that flour. And just gradually add that stock to your roux. Really get it a good mix each time. Let that melt through. You can see that intense colour. It's a nice smooth paste here. So then add a bit more. A paste of curry. As I add the water at the end, it tends to thin out before it thickens again. Of course, with the corn flour and plain flour in there, once I bring it to a boil, it will thicken once more. So all that stock's in there now. And this is when it's a good time to start seasoning. So what we're trying to go for is a nice balance of sweet, savoury. There's no real taste in there yet, apart from the spices. So I've got some brown sugar here. And some tamari, Japanese soy sauce. You can go tablespoon at a time, so I'm going to go for 1 tablespoon of tamari in first, with a pinch of sea salt. That's my saltiness for now. And bring that to a boil. You've got that bright orangey yellow colour. Just going to have a little taste of that before I add any more. It's quite sweet. Needs a little bit more salty flavour, so I'm going to go for 1 more tablespoon of just the tamari. And then just a tint of honey to accentuate the brown sugar. And give it a nice syrupy texture almost. And then we're going to reduce that down by about 1/3. So it's a nice consistency to pour over our fried panko chicken. At this point, just enjoy it. Don't try and do too much. Look after your curry sauce because it can thicken up very quickly. Stand over it, stir, perhaps have a glass of wine if you're old enough. So again, that honey's just sort of brought a little extra sweetness to it. So I'm going to do one last pinch of salt. Should have a nice sweet savoury balance. You can see the consistency of that sauce now, almost on a slow drip. Corn flour has a tendency to drop to the bottom, so you just want to keep moving it through, stirring gently, get a nice homogeneous mixture. That's my new favourite word. A little taste. Oh yeah, that's moreish. I'm not going to take that texture too much further. I'm going to bring it down to really low heat now, just so it simmers away, ready to finish my dish. Right, panéing, again, a French term. It essentially means breadcrumbing. The difference here is that we've got Japanese panko breadcrumbs, which are essentially electrified bread. Comes from the old post-war time, actually during the war, I think it was the Second World War, when the Japanese had a lot of flour to use and they made bread, but it tasted horrible. And the way they made it was they electrocuted this bread using whatever they had. So they decided to make breadcrumbs out of it instead. Now, when you pané something, you need your plain flour. So I've got seasoned plain flour, just plain flour with a little bit of salt. I've got my egg. And the ordering of this is where people get a little confused sometimes. We say it very, very simply. You start from your wet chicken or wet meat, and you go wet, dry, wet, dry. So, chicken into your plain flour. Make sure it's well covered. Straight over to the egg. So from dry back to wet. And then over to your breadcrumbs. Back to the dry. Make sure you cover it well. And if you wanted to double pané, you can breadcrumb it again. Completely up to you. I quite like a light coating, so just going to go once into that, and then that's ready to go. So once you've panéed your chicken, we can start to crisp it up. Deep frying. Just test your oil. Anything wooden, if it fizzes up straight away, you're at about 180 degrees C, so I know that's hot enough. It's clean oil, and that's very specific, and the Japanese are quite rightly so about this. To get a nice golden brown finish, you must have clean oil. Now these chicken pieces are cut nice and thin, so they don't take long to cook at all. You see how quickly they go golden brown. Now I've got big pieces of katsu here, but the way you know if the chicken's cooked through or not is it should be floating at the top of the oil. So I'm just going to take one piece out just to see, give it a bit of space, and you can see that it's floating really nicely, so that's cooked through really quickly there. Leave this larger piece in for another 30 seconds to a minute, and again I can see that that's now floating at the top of the oil freely. So that's ready to come out. A beautiful golden brown finish on those escalopes of chicken. So beautiful crispy chicken. In the centre of your bowl. Some nice steamed rice here. Now I've got my thickened curry sauce. All over that chicken and rice. Simple as that, your chicken katsu curry. So of course, the Got to taste it. Love this dish. Great balance of sweet, savoury flavour. That crispy chicken. And it's cut so thin, it cooks so quickly. Still nice and succulent. If you like this type of recipe and you want to know more, subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to our channel. If you want to learn more food just like this, subscribe to our channel and keep the suggestions coming.